Aristotle Virtue Ethics. Aristotle once said, it is easy to perform a good action, but not easy to acquire a habit of performing such action. The first one is telos as end. Aristotle believed that everything in the nature has a telos. A purpose, it is meant to fulfill. Example, a human telos likewise is to reason and live virtuously. A good person fulfills their purpose by reasoning well and living morally. And the second one, virtue as habit. Virtue is not something you're born with. It is learned and developed through practice. Example, imagine someone who is naturally shy. They start up in meetings even if it's uncomfortable. Over time, they become more confident and assertive. The third one is happiness as virtue or eudaimonia. This kind of happiness requires time. It measured across an entire life, not just in moment. Example, a person who lives with integrity, courage, generosity, and wisdom over the course of their life is flourishing, even they face hardships. So the Nicomachean Ethics, it is a philosophical work by Aristotle and is considered one of the most important and influential texts in Western moral philosophy. In it, Aristotle laid out his theory of virtue ethics, focusing on how to live good, meaningful, and fulfilling life. Virtue ethics does not set up rules or principles for moral behavior. Instead, it stresses the importance of cultivating the right character, disposition, attitude, reason, and emotion without which a moral agent can hardly do the right thing, follow moral rules, and do his moral duties.
The human good and the function argument. Asking what the good is for human beings is not simply because we want to have knowledge, but because we will be able to achieve our good if we develop a fuller understanding of what it is to flourish by Aristotle. But what is the good? Good for human beings is eudaimonia, often translated as happiness, but better understood as flourishing or living well. But it's not just about feeling good, it's about being good, becoming a fully developed, virtuous human being who reasons well and lives according to that reason. First, intrinsic goods. Intrinsic goods valued for their own sake, not as a means to something else. Examples, pleasure, or although Aristotle sees this as incomplete by itself, knowledge, rationality, and rational belief, beauty and aesthetic excellence, moral goodness, self-perfection, or personal growth. Second, instrumental goods, valued only as a means to something else, never for their own sake. Examples, money, obedience, politeness, self-control, tools, jobs, grades. Third, both intrinsic and instrumental goods, valued both for their own sake and for what they lead to. Examples, friendship, good health, and education. Moreover, for rules with sanctions alone do not make for a good society. Not only do rules have to be made and interpreted by agents, but where there is no desire to obey them appropriately as a matter of disposition, socially necessary rules will too often be circumvented, interpreted in self-serving ways, and interpreted inhumanly for excessively rigidly, or interpreted loosely in ways that displays weakness and cowardice by Christian Swanton. Swanton, like Aristotle, argues that moral rules alone do not guarantee justice or goodness. A society needs people with virtuous dispositions who genuinely desire to do what is right and who apply rules with wisdom, fairness, and courage.
First, telos as ends. Telos from the Greek word telos means end, purpose, or goal. It refers to the ultimate aim or final cause that something is meant to achieve. This concept is central to Aristotle's philosophy, particularly in his discussion of nature, human beings, and ethics. Teleology. The word telos is the root of the term teleology, which is the study of purposiveness or the study of objects with regard to their aims, purposes, or intentions. In theology, the focus is not just on how things work, but on why the excess or what they are meant to achieve. Example of telos. Acorn and oak tree. An acorn has a telos. It is proposed to grow into an oak tree. The telos of the acorn is not just to exist as an acorn, but to become an oak tree. Its function or goal is to reach its full potential. The telos of ethics is to achieve the highest good, which is called happiness, or also called eudaimonia. The term eudaimonia is commonly translated as happiness, but it's more accurately understood as flourishing well-being or the good life. It is not just about feeling good or experience pleasure, but about living a life of virtue, fulfillment, and meaningful accomplishment. Superiority means virtue, excellence, or moral goodness. It is the character trait quality that allows humans to live well and achieve eudaimonia. Excellence as a habit by Plato. Plato, like Aristotle, saw excellence as something that must be practiced and ingrained over time. Virtue is developed by repeated actions, meaning that it becomes a habit. Over time, we became a kind of person who consistently makes virtuous choices. Furthermore, the Greek term eudaimon is composed of two parts. First, eu, which means will or good, and daimon, which means spirit or divine. Using it literally means living will. Eudaimon becomes a more philosophical expression for living will, indicating that it's not just about comfort or happiness in a fleeting sense, but a deeper, more substantial form of well-being that is tied to fulfilling our human purpose. The good life is the life of virtue, and the life of virtue is an activity in accordance with reason. Man's highest function by Aristotle. For Aristotle, the good life is not merely a life of pleasure or material wealth, but a life of virtue.
Goal of ethics. Aristotle believed that ethics is a practical ethics. We are not studying in order to know what virtue is, but to become good, for otherwise there would be no profit in it. According to Aristotle, simply knowing about courage is not enough. Just understanding the concept doesn't make you courageous. If you simply memorize the courage is to recite it without practicing, you're not applying ethics in the way Aristotle ended. The nature of virtue. Virtues of characters are disposition to act in certain ways, respond to similar situations. Aristotle believed that virtues are habits or disposition that lead us to act in the right way in response to similar situations. Virtue, for him, is always about finding the mean between two extremes, excess and deficiency. This is known as the doctrine of the mean, and it is also one of the key aspects of Aristotle's virtue ethics. Example, the virtue of courage. Cowardice is the fear and the deficiency of courage. The coward is someone who is too afraid to face every smallest danger, avoiding situation where bravery is required. Example, a person who refuses to speak a meeting, not because they are truly afraid, but because they are overly anxious about the responsibility of failure or criticism. Aristotle on virtue and the good life. The good life is fulfilling our purpose and or telos. Telos, purpose or end. For Aristotle, everything has a purpose or telos. Just a knife is made up to cut. A human being has a purpose that is unique to human nature. Human beings, as rational animals, have the telos or living a life of rational activity guided by reason and in accordance with virtue. The good life. The good life is therefore the life that fulfills this purpose, a life of rational activity and virtuous action. The good life involves flourishing eudaimonia which is the full realization of human potential. Living will be by action in accordance with reasons, practicing virtue and fulfilling our natural purpose. In other words, to achieve the good life, humans being to live in a way that is in line with their true nature, that is living rationally and virtue-centered. But what is our purpose as a human being? Aristotle defines the human purpose as something that is effectively human. For him, the human function or telos involves rationality. Rationality, human beings are rational creatures, meaning that reason is at the core of what it means to be human. Our purpose then is to act in accordance with reasons. The function and argument. In his Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle argues that the best life for human beings is one where we live in accordance with our rational nature. This is called ergon, or functions. And for humans, and function is to live a rational life. For example, a knife function is to cut, and it is a good when it performs that function well. Similarly, human beings are good when they perform their function, rational activity, will through virtuous action. The good as the aim of every human endeavor. The good aim of every human endeavor. For Aristotle, the good is ultimate aim for end goal of all human actions. Every actions we take aims to some good, whether that is short-term goal, like eating a meal or going for a run, or a long-term goal, like achieving happiness, knowledge, or virtue. The highest good is the one that we aim for, not as a means of anything else but for its own sake. The highest good, or eudaimonia, the highest good that humans aim for according to Aristotle is eudaimonia, which is commonly translated as flourishing or well-being. Eudaimonia is not a momentary pleasures but a long-term state of living in harmony with reasons and virtue. So why is eudaimonia is the highest good? Eudaimonia is the final end, the ultimate aim of all actions. And it is sought for its own sake, unlike money, fame, or even health, which are good because they help us achieve something else. Eudaimonia is valuable in itself.
The four types of cardinal virtues. First is prudence, or practical wisdom, phronesis in Greek. It's the virtue of knowing how to act rightly in act situations. It involves the ability to make sound decisions that align with good, taking into account the specific circumstances. It is considered the most important virtue because it helps all over the virtue or other virtues, ensuring the actions are balanced and in line with reason. Example of prudence. A teacher facing a situation where a student is constantly disrupting the class needs to exercise prudence. Instead of immediately punishing the student, which could escalate the problem, the teacher might consider the reason behind the behavior, consult with the students privately, and determine an appropriate course of actions that balance discipline with understanding. Prudence her allows the teachers to decide the best course of actions based on the specific circumstances rather than acting impulsively. The second one is temperance, or self-control, moderation. Temperance is the virtue of moderation or self-control, particularly with respect to our bodily desire and appetites, like food, drink, or pleasure. It involves restraining excessive desire and seeking the appropriate amount of pleasure without indulging excessively or being too strict. The example is, a person on a diet may face the temptation to overeat or indulge in unhealthy food. Temperance also helps they moderate their desires. allowing them to enjoy a treat in moderation without indulging those maintaining their health and well-being, instead of completely avoiding pleasurable foods or eating too much of them. Temperance guides them toward a balanced approach. The third one is courage. Courage is the virtue of acting right in the face of fear or difficulty. It involves facing fears, whether physical, like danger, or emotional, like anxiety, and doing what is right rationally and moderately without being reckless or overly fearful. And also the example of courage. A firefighter who runs into a burning building to save someone demonstrates courage. The firefighter experiences fear, a natural response to danger, but still chooses to act in the face of the fear because right thing is to save the person. This is an example of courage as the mean between excessive fear and foolhardy recklessness. The fourth one or the last one is justice. Justice is the virtue of giving each person their due. It involves fairness and treating people with respect by ensuring that everyone gets the way they deserve, whether in terms of resources, respects, or rights. And also the doctrine of mean by Aristotle. The golden mean or golden middle way is the desirable middle between the two extremes, one of excess and the other deficiency. First is cowardice. The balance of it is courage, rashness, stinginess, miserableness, generosity, extravagance, sloth, ambition, greed, humanity or humility, modesty, pride, secrecy, honesty, loquacity, moroseness, good humor, quarrelsomeness, friendship, flattery, self-indulgence, temperance, insensibility, empathy, composure, irritability, indecisiveness, self-control, or impulsiveness. Hearing and making decisions based on evidence rather than bias or personal feelings. This is the applications of justice in the judicial system. According to Aristotle, to live the good life, or eudaimonia, a person must act in moderation or avoiding excess or deficiency, cultivate virtue through habit, engage in contemplation, especially as rational being. This is a beautiful echoed in the myth of Daedalus and Icarus.
Eastern philosophers, Gautama Buddha, the middle way. In reaction of extremes, harsh asceticism, and indulgent luxury, the Buddha discovered that neither extremes lead to true liberation or happiness. The middle way, a path between self-denial and self-indulgence, encourage moderation in thoughts, actions, and desires, forms the foundation of the Noble Eightfold Path, which guides ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. Avoiding both extremes, the Tathagata has realized the middle path. It gives vision, gives knowledge, and leads to peace, to direct knowledge to enlightenment. Like Aristotle, Buddha sees balance as essential of flourishing thought in Buddhism. This leads to enlightenment rather than political or personal virtue alone. The doctrine of the mean. Zongyung translate to centrality and harmony or moderation. The main in Confucian ethics, it's about finding balance in behavior, emotions, and duty. It's not about being average of fast or passive, but acting appropriately and harmoniously in every situation. Just like Aristotle Golden Mean, Confucian Zongyong encourage behavior that avoids emotional extremes and promotes social harmony. In Aristotle's virtuous ethic, what truly makes us happy is not pleasure, wealth, or honor, but living a life of virtues is accordance with reason. Aristotle calls this kind of happiness eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing, well-being, living well, and simply the good life.